Hey, you know what time it is? It is crypto time. It's time to go over what is important in cryptocurrency today that you need to be aware of. And man, do we have a show ahead of us. We have a lot of stuff to get through, so I don't want to take too much of your time dwelling on any one individual thing. I want to make sure you guys stay informed. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the show. Always important times in crypto in this rapidly evolving industry. And I'm so happy to have a front row seat here with you guys. And I want to thank you so much for the support. I was finally able to get monetized on YouTube. It just got approved yesterday. That means we had to hit 1,000 subscribers. And we had to hit 4,000 watch hours. So thank you for continuing to watch, and thank you for subscribing to the show. Finally got there. Not that I'm going to be making much, but slowly, hopefully, it will grow back up over time. And it has felt like ages, honestly, since restarting the show. But I see kind of what the process is like for new YouTubers now. And it is not the most simplest, but sticking through it, I think it's all going to be worth it as we continue to share information. Hopefully you guys all find valuable. So let's go ahead and start off with CoinGecko. Take a look at what's going on with the prices right now. We have Bitcoin up, which is actually surprising in my opinion. Some of this price action that we've been seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum recently, to me, is impressive. We didn't go back with Ethereum, for example, to the pre-merge hype prices. No, they've still stayed elevated. Ethereum today is up at $1,321, up 2.4%, and Bitcoin is up 1.9% at $19,105, almost up to $1 trillion market cap with cryptos. This is quite nice, especially as it is trading against what you're seeing with the stock market, where, for example, you have the Dow Jones down over 1% today, down 329 points. You had the NASDAQ down 0.6%. So cryptos aren't even following the NASDAQ and tech stocks. So this could be a sign of bottoming, a sign of strength, maybe a sign that there could be growing distrust in fiat currencies as more people become aware. I've seen this discussion a lot today that it is a race to the bottom. Just because the dollar is decimating everything and continues to decimate the pound, euro, and other currencies doesn't make the dollar the most attractive option for forever, especially since none of these currencies are really tied to anything of value. But now we may have things that do hold their value better, and those ultimately I think will be proven to be cryptocurrencies if we can hold out till those periods. And while we're having, again, instability across all sorts of commodities, oil, gold, silver down, you have cryptos holding up well like this is an interesting sign. It's just an interesting sign and something we'll have to keep note of for sure. And you're usually patient and sticking around. Like I remarked in the last video, things have gotten really quiet for crypto on Twitter and other places. That's usually a sign that we might be near some sort of bottom. I know a lot of you guys, like Jen, have been around. Hi, Jen, for a long time. And you're the ones who continue to stick around. And usually those are the only people left when you have some sort of bear market. The hardest of chorus of believers. And so I'm not saying we're at a bottom, but I don't know. It potentially could be close, I guess, if, again, you have interest rates spiking insane like this, causing devastation, and yet still you have cryptos trading well. The thing is, I'm hearing discussion, for example, about how attractive cryptocurrencies might be relative to, for example, holding bonds. Because if bonds and their yields continue to creep higher, then it's a risk-free thing, risk-free, that you can be earning, as opposed to having to secure your own cryptos, having to worry about staking penalties, having to trust some sort of centralized custodian like Celsius or Voyager or Nexo or whatever. It can definitely be a little bit more cumbersome to manage your way around cryptocurrencies. So it just might be easier for folks to go ahead and deal with bonds and so on. But ultimately, we do have to wonder how long bonds are going to hold up and how much trust is going to continue to be placed in these institutions, governmental institutions that just are hurting the middle class as it disappears and more people are suffering out there. I don't know. Maybe I read too much about what's going on there, but just nice to see that cryptos are holding up, and I hope they continue to grow as a safe haven opportunity and people recognize their benefit in that kind of avenue. What's up, Rob? Good to see you. Tech Ken, a curb shifter. Nice to see you. So let's take a look at some of the things that I've compiled here for you guys today as we do our tour of crypto. So Ross Ulbricht is feeling the pain of inflation himself. He's been jailed for creating a marketplace that frequently, I guess you could say, drug traffickers used Bitcoin in to transact, to exchange different things. But it was some sort of free market. He was arrested, if you don't know Ross Ulbricht, and he's spending quite a considerable amount of time in jail. But he's been doing some great things. He's been talking about how he helps mediate, for example, suicidal folks. And it's really not the easiest job, but he does his best to inspire people, even though he is locked inside. So really kind of a motivational hero, I would say, in many different ways. But he had this to say when he tweeted this a few hours ago. We are feeling the bite of inflation here in prison too. Peanuts cost 90% more, and $1 gets you 2 ramen packs instead of 5. Yeah, you think that's pretty cheap ramen, right? You're thinking, wow, you used to get 5 packs and you're still getting 2 packs for $1. But if you look at the pittance they earn for any job in jail, literally like pennies, then suddenly think about how many hours you have to work, or even minimum wage you have to work to earn a few packs of ramen, and you'll suddenly understand the disparity there. But yeah, interesting to see that inflation is also affecting prison. I did want to give a shout out here to Shimmer. Thanks, Thomas, for the heads up. I haven't been following Iota as closely, but as you can see in the title there, I did want to acknowledge what's going on there in the next 48 hours. Within the next 2 days, Iota is going to be having a big addition to it in the form of Shimmer and some of the upgrades that are coming to that, which is basically an incentivized test net. But that could allow for a lot to take place. So let's take a look. And yeah, Iota has been climbing. It's up over 10% last that I checked today. So maybe some opportunities for you there. And yeah, I don't have any Iota right now. I don't have any plans to add to Iota. I'm not trying to front run you guys. Just always got to put that out there. But interesting to keep us all on top of what's going on. And it's nice to follow developments for different coins. Iota has been one of the best performers in Coin360's top 100 list with a 9.2% daily gain and a 21% weekly gain. What powered such a price surge in a bleeding market? Iota 2.0 with ShimmerNet, Stardust, and more Iota developments. What is Iota, for those of you who don't know? A distributed ledger built for the Internet of Everything for exchanging value and data between humans and machines. It uses Tangle, a structure where newer transactions verify the old older ones for parallel validation of transactions without requiring total ordering. It offers a network that is secure. The whole system is distributed across many network participants, no single point of failure or attack. Feeless, no transaction fees charged, but MIOTA holders can secure prioritized transactions if the network reaches capacity limits. Lightweight, low requirements, small single board computers and edge devices can be used to run the protocol. Frictionless, no transaction fees. Data related functions are more accessible because of that. Scalable, Nakamoto Consensus Plus DAG, a decentralized acyclic graph parallel processing, allows up to 1,000 transactions per second. Permissionless and leaderness, no third centralized party to validate transactions. Consensus doesn't rely on selected network participants. Flexible, enable public and private Tango can be used as a public ledger permissionless or even as a private ledger permissioned open source. So this is a brief overview of different things. I'm not going to go over everything, but Iota 2.0. Iota is upgrading its Iota 1.5 Chrysalis, where it's at, to Iota 2.0 Coordicide, like killing Murdericide, the coordinator, the centralized coordinator, for fully decentralized, feeless, and highly scalable distributed ledger technology. The removal of coordinator, a centralized node run by the Iota Foundation, can help boost decentralization. So ShimmerNet, this is the big upgrade that's coming up in short order on an L1 incentivized staging network for the Iota mainnet. It's a DAG-based parallelized settlement layer with higher L2 anchoring capacity than standard blockchains, even though this isn't a blockchain at all. How can it build Iota 2.0? Features will be added on Shimmer for testing before going live on mainnet, so testnet. Iterate and deploy quickly, speed up the development process as new changes are made and tested. But there are some key differences that I'm going to actually take a look at this to show you. So this is the Shimmer cheat sheet that someone shared with me, Iota NFTs. It says that it's going to be feeless, minorless, have a finality time of 2 to 5 seconds. That's a realistic time, right? When you get promised a world that's usually not that far from it. It's going to have native token that's bridgeless, asset transfers coming along with it. Native assets can be securely transferred between the blockchain networks or to the native Shimmer ledger without the need for bridges or trusted relays. It's going to have NFTs. So Shimmer rewrites the playbook for NFTs, they say here, by removing fees for the creation and trading. All NFTs on Shimmer act as standalone wallets and can hold their NFTs and tokens. It would be interesting to see some sort of incentivized testnet allowing for more NFT adoption. Output types. The extended UTXO model enables unique output types, allowing new levels of transaction features such as unlock and time lock conditions. You could use that in some sort of smart contracts that seem to be coming as well here. So L2 smart contracts. Iota smart contracts beta means you can already develop EVM, Ethereum virtual machine based dApps with the same tools and concepts you're used to. You'll be able to deploy them on the upcoming Shimmer EVM or Ethereum virtual machine. So this is again launching on September 28. They're going to be given out and you can claim them using the Firefly wallet app, it looks like. And this is what the supply looks like, given out to stakeholders, I guess you could say. Not stakers, but really the community. So you have the community DAO getting 10% of these tokens that are being issued in the Genesis supply. The Tango ecosystem getting there, a good portion of 10%, and 80% going to stakers of Iota who are able to earn these tokens along with others for staking. So pretty neat. And I encourage you to check it out, or at the very least, you're trying to trade around this. Trade carefully, of course, if that's your goal. But it's nice to see Iota continue to push forward and do things in the nature of decentralization. And smart contracts, NFTs, they're not trying to get left behind. So if you're an Iota fan, I can see why you'd be excited about this upgrade coming out right now. So let's take a look at this moving forward here, because like I said, we got a lot to cover. Gemini. So Gemini is launching Ethereum staking a little bit late to the game, but better late than never. They're going to have smaller fees than, for example, Coinbase. If you're trying to stake on an exchange, the fees are only going to be 15%. And there's going to be a whole period between when they launch this, September 29th, so in 3 days, through October 31st, where they're not going to charge any fees for your staked amounts. You're going to be able to earn all that. You can stake any small amount as well. You don't have to have 32 ETH. You don't even have to have 16 ETH. You can stake a smaller amount, so that might be valuable to you, just like you can with Coinbase. And they also offer slashing protection in the event that their nodes mess up, there are mistakes that Gemini is going to be reimbursing you for those penalties, and they cover gas costs for staking and unstaking, of course. So I think it's an interesting option considering that their security has been top notch. As far as I'm aware, they have not been hacked, at least not publicly disclosed or anything like that. And so they're probably one of the better options and custodians, and they have been in the game, the Gemini twins, for quite some time, the Winklevi. Yeah, 50% fee is quite huge, as Amiris points out here, especially as you compare that to, for example, if you were to run your own node, you wouldn't get charged any sort of fee. But some people are willing to take that hit in order to not have to worry about uptime and all sorts of maintenance, client upgrades. It is work in order to earn with proof of stake, especially the native way, the solo validator way. So I can see why this kind of option would be attractive. So if you didn't like Coinbase for some reason and you do like Gemini, you have an account there and you've been waiting, then this might be a valuable option to you. Of course, you're not gonna be able to withdraw that staked ETH until the merge unlocks. And I'm not hearing about Gemini offering some sort of wrapped Ethereum version for you to unlock early just yet. So do keep that in mind. It looks like Putin, I don't know how you say his name. He has granted citizenship to Edward Snowden, who has spoken at multiple Bitcoin conferences, actually, over the internet. It says here, President Vladimir Putin on Monday granted Russian citizenship to former U.S. intelligence contractor Edward Snowden 9 years after he exposed the scale of secret surveillance operations by the NSA where he worked at. He is 39 years old, fled the United States, and was given asylum in Russia after leaking secret files in 2013. So U.S. authorities have wanted him, but he has not wanted to go back unless he got a fair trial, which has not been promised to him. Basically, the U.S. is trying to just jail him as a traitor and to the United States. So you can see why he might not want to be coming back anytime soon. A lot of people are wondering if this means he's going to be drafted. Is he going to serve, since Russia has been mobilizing troops and creating their sort of a sort of draft that I guess you could say. But it does, and this could apply to a lot of people, apparently, who are under the age of 75. But this, from what I read, doesn't apply to folks who have not served prior time in the military just yet, in Russia, that is, because Edward Snowden did serve in the military in the U.S. So unless they're like, hey, you served in the U.S., you can serve here in Russia, is declared specifically for him, it looks like he's going to be all right. He was one of 72 people who were foreign born who have been granted citizenship right now. So for him, it's rather good news. He had this to say on Twitter: after years of separation from our parents, my wife and I have no desire to be separated from our sons. After 2 years of waiting and nearly 10 years of exile, a little stability will make a difference for my family. I pray for privacy for them and for us all. Really nice to see that. And this is following 2020 when he did announce that he was getting his citizenship. He wrote back then, after years of separation from our parents, my wife and I have no desire to be separated from our son. That's why in this era of pandemics and closed borders, we're applying for dual U.S.-Russian citizenship. He is not giving up his U.S. citizenship yet. So I'm here in California, and there was something that I had remarked on, I think, a few weeks ago, and maybe months. I don't know. It's crypto time, right? We forget. But it was that Governor Newsom had in front of him a bill, which was his decision he had to make on whether to approve this bill, which would create a sort of copycat bit license. So the bit license was something that was passed in New York, a regulatory license, I guess you could call it, for financial institutions or really crypto companies that wanted to operate and offer services to New York citizens. They had to basically pay an extortion racket bill, and those licenses were granted to very few and continue to be granted to very few companies. So it creates a kind of haves and have-nots. Can you afford to, for example, just pay what it takes just to apply and have your lawyers look through all this just to apply for this license in New York? So it's really created a disparity, and I would say stifled innovation in New York. This was apparently coming to California as well. And the one in California had even more provisions in the bill. For example, not allowing for stable coins that were not 100% backed by dollar reserves and they were not issued by a bank. So you can see that how that could have been a huge problem. Maybe even created problems for accessing other stable coins that already exist in the market for Californian residents. So here is what the governor said when he actually vetoed this. It came out on the 23rd, which is pretty awesome. I'm returning Assembly Bill 2269 without my signature. AB 2269 would establish a licensing and regulatory framework administered by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation for digital financial asset activity. Digital assets are becoming increasingly popular in our financial ecosystem, with more customers buying and selling cryptocurrencies each year. I share the author's intent to protect Californians from potential financial harm while providing clear rules for crypto businesses operating in the state. On May 4, 2022, I issued Executive Order N922 to position California as the first state to establish a transparent regulatory environment that both fosters responsible innovation and protects customers who use digital asset financial services and products, all within the context of a rapidly evolving federal regulatory picture. Over the last several months, my administration has conducted extensive research and outreach to gather input on approaches that balance the benefits and risks to customers, harmonize with federal rules, and incorporate Californian values such as equity, inclusivity, and environmental protection. It is premature to lock a licensing structure in statute without considering both this work and forthcoming federal action. So they're trying to see what is coming from the federal government first before having to change things themselves and waste money that way. And just have to do more work. A more flexible approach is needed to ensure regulatory oversight can keep up with rapidly evolving technology and use cases, and it is tailored with the proper tools to address trends and mitigate consumer harm. Additionally, standing up a new regulatory program is a costly undertaking. This bill would require a loan from the general fund in the tens of millions of dollars for the first several years to administer. Such a significant commitment of general fund resources should be considered and accounted for in the annual budget process. So would have been really expensive as well to get this going. I'm committed to working collaboratively with the legislature to achieve the appropriate regulatory clarity once federal regulations come into sharper focus for digital financial assets, while ensuring California remains a competitive place for companies to invest and innovate. So really not trying to shoot the state in the foot. I would say bold and good move, just kind of like Jake Chervinsky said here. So Governor Gavin Newsom deserves serious respect for making the right call by vetoing AB 2269, the BitLicense copycat bill that passed the California legislature by a wide margin, 71-0 in the assembly. So it would have been quite popular with his tribe, or his politician tribe, to actually have passed it, not veto it. So that took guts, and he did it all for the right reasons. Although Wendy O did not agree with this. Wendy said, serious respect for doing his job in the bare minimum for Californians. I'm happy he did the right thing, but it's his job to have our best interests. Jake did have, I think, quite clear-headed response to Wendy there when he said, if you expect all elected officials to be pro-crypto as a matter of course, you're going to be disappointed. If you only ever attack them and give them no credit when they go out on a limb for us politically, again, 71-0, then you're saying don't bother doing it again. Yeah, I think there is something in supporting them when they've supported us and not just slapping them right back. Thank you so much for the like, Amiris. And everyone, if you could go ahead and hit that like, and remember to do that if you are enjoying the content, that would be a huge help to the show. Let's move on. So Interpol, International Police, has issued a red notice for South Korean crypto founder Do Kwon of Terra Luna, which I don't think we have to go into again exactly who this was. Billions of dollars lost, fled South Korea, it appears, back in April after things started turning south. And apparently he was in Singapore, but the cops can't find him out there. So they have, so South Korea has pinged Interpol to issue a red notice, We did know that it was going to take about 7 days on average for a red notice to possibly issued, which would allow for Do Kwon to be apprehended, and that has now been issued. Interpol has issued, according to the New York Times and just anywhere you look, a red notice for the search and arrest of Do Kwon, the South Korean co-founder of Terraform Labs. The Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office said on Monday the South Korean authorities had requested assistance from the global police agency to track Mr. Kwon's whereabouts earlier this month. So, what is a red notice? Criminals can flee to another country to evade justice. A red notice alerts police worldwide about internationally wanted fugitives. It kind of reminds me of that game Red Dead Redemption. There's a bounty up, except there's really no bounty. It's only the cops looking for him, but still. It's pretty cool. Think of him as an outlaw, right? Anyway, he's an outlaw, it does appear. What is a red notice? A red notice is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender, or similar legal action. It contains two main types of information that are issued to these police headquarters around the world. Information to identify the wanted person, such as their name, date of birth, nationality, hair and eye color, photographs, and fingerprints if available. Information related to the crime they're wanted to is the second thing, which can typically be, like murder, rape, child abuse, armed robbery, or in this instance, financial crimes. Red notices are published by Interpol at the request of a member country and must comply with Interpol's constitution and rules. A red notice is not an international arrest warrant, but it's just a notice telling them, hey, be on the lookout for this guy. And this country basically wants him since he can't be extradited currently because of rules. So are individuals wanted by Interpol? It says here in the FAQ, no, they are wanted by a country or an international tribunal. Interpol cannot compel the law enforcement agencies in any country to arrest someone who is the subject of a red notice. Each member country decides what legal value it gives to a red notice and the authority of their law enforcement officers to make arrests. So if you think that you might be like Do Kwon and you were on the run, turns out that you can contact them. You can contact the Commission for the Control of Interpol's Files, an independent body. Applications to the CCF are free of charge and treated confidentially if you're concerned you might be wanted for one of these things. Or I guess if you're Do Kwon out there and you don't want to believe what all the websites and the news agencies are currently saying right now, since most of these red notices, in fact, are kept private, and only the police in these different countries are allowed to really unseal this information and look at it. You can't publicly look at most of these red notices. I think it's only in the hundreds that are actually publicly available information. And there are 195 member countries in Interpol, making them the world's largest police organization. And indeed, you have Singapore listed here, and you also have the Republic of Korea, which is weird because I think they're only really talking about South Korea here, but they call it the Republic of Korea either way. Home to one of the world's fastest internet connections and enjoys very high online activity. The threat of cybercrime is on the increase, particularly identity theft, online scams, phone scams, and voice phishing in Korea. Actually, I saw this on pretty much all the Asian countries. They enjoy very high online activity and fast internet connection. So they're just copy and pasting this information. I thought it would be cool to go through different countries and see what they have to say, but it's really not that interesting. Although they have nice pictures, I will say. Do Kwon had previously denied that being on the run, but he hasn't tweeted since. So on September 17th, he had said, "I'm not on the run or anything similar. For any government agency that has shown interest to communicate, we are in full cooperation and we don't have anything to hide." I don't know, because South Korea was like, yo, can you come back? Because we kind of want to arrest you. And if you didn't go back, then it doesn't seem like full cooperation. It seems to fall just slightly short of that. But anyway, the most recent update, and this is the last tweet that we got from Do Kwon, was, to be honest, having gone running in a while, need to cut some calories. So this I just found out a little, like right before starting this video, and it is that Nexo has been called out by California, New York, and several states to stop offering their yield products. They're one of the few that are still around after Celsius and Voyager went down. For example, you still have BlockFi that was supposedly bailed out also, although I've seen that refuted, whether they took the loan or not from FTX. That's a whole other drama. But anyway, BlockFi is still out there offering yield opportunities to customers. And you also see that with Nexo, they have managed to survive through this period. But these states are not calling for them to halt their yield products. For example, you have New York Attorney General Letitia James saying Nexo violated the law and investors' trust by falsely claiming that it is a licensed and registered platform. I haven't used Nexo myself, but if they claim that, I can see why New York might have a problem with that, especially considering how strict they are. We were just talking about the BIT license. They were the first ones to issue that. So Nexo must stop its unlawful operations and take necessary action to protect its investors. And arguably, I mean, in the past, we would all be like, you know what, is it protection if you're stopping us from getting our yield? Well, maybe, because we saw just how fragile these companies can become under certain market circumstances, and especially when there just isn't much disclosure from these centralized companies that are offering some sort of yield. But yeah, I mean, you can see for yourself this letter that was issued by California. The DFPI, the California Department of Financial Protections and Innovation, has undertaken aggressive enforcement actions, efforts against unregistered interest-bearing cryptocurrency accounts. These crypto interest accounts are securities and are subject to investor protections under law, including adequate disclosure of the risks involved. Collectively, these actions protect investors while ensuring that California remains an ideal setting for responsible financial innovations. It turns out that Nexo has been promising and offered rates of up to 36%. That's not bad. On investors' deposited crypto assets, which are significantly higher, they said, than rates for short-term investment grade fixed income securities or bank savings accounts. Well, that's why people are using it, right? Obviously, it's going to be higher. So they have also offered similar actions, the DFPI, to BlockFi, Voyager, and Celsius, although Voyager and Celsius have filed, as we know, for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So if you have complaints, you can reach out, it looks like here as well with Nexo. So some serious investigations seem to be going on there. And that does suck, however, if you are a Nexo user. But it is harder to get that sort of centralized yield these days. Ain't it? Yeah, I guess you're joining the rest of us. Even DeFi doesn't have that many yields, right? Charles Hoskinson has created kind of a controversy today. I don't care either way. Charles can say whatever he wants. It's a free social media platform. Maybe not completely free to say what you want. But he has kind of kicked the hornet's nest here when it comes to the Ethereum community. And there was quite a bit of discussion. I hadn't seen the Ethereum community talking very much about Charles Hoskinson recently, but he is kind of back in the spotlight after thrusting himself, I guess you could say, with this tweet thread. He said, I always wondered why the Ethereum crowd is so obsessed with my 6 months here. My 6 months there in 2014, since he is considered one of the creators of Ethereum. And then after the merge, it all made sense. They just seem to really like technology and events from 2014. Levity aside, people really need to grow up and move on. It's a fair game. To discuss major differences in protocol design, I repeatedly pointed out that the core engineers of Ethereum completely ignored Ouroboros throughout the last 5 years. It's a crime on that side of the fence to even mention Cardano. If you don't believe me, then send me links to interviews or posts discussing our technology objectively. You just won't find any. It's bereft of intellectual honesty and common sense. There's this bizarre parallel world where everything Cardano has done is a useless scam that couldn't possibly be innovative. Rather, we are a cult beholden to an evil, sociopathic, but incompetent, pathological, lying founder who somehow has stumbled upon stolen success, but will be in jail any moment now when the world wakes up. It would be offensive if it wasn't so batshit crazy. You know, I actually hadn't heard or read any of that from anybody serious. But when you're talking about Twitter, there's always going to be some people out there who say that. Interesting that Charles Hoskinson did kind of take that so personally. But it can get to you after a while, some of these negative comments. The end result is that it just hurts the industry adoption, collaboration, and means that many users are now forced into design decisions that hurt them instead of help them. I guess that's human nature, but at least we can make a choice to not succumb to it. But with every HFC event, Cardano continues to deliver on its potential to be something better for the world's systems. Its community continues to grow and evolve. Next year, we'll make our largest contributions ever to our governance and user experience. We'll do that together. And we don't need to hate anyone or develop bizarre conspiratorial thinking in order to accomplish our goals. The reality is that Cardano doesn't need cryptocurrency to be successful in order to succeed. Mass adoption hasn't happened yet, and we can grow to billions. I think this is positive for any project, actually. Indeed, of users without poaching a single one from Bitcoin or Ethereum. We just need to be good at solving real life problems, and that's been the focus of our community. I'm proud of them, and it's remarkable to see how much progress we've all made. I'm sorry for our industry. I'm sorry that our industry behaves this way at times. Our community doesn't deserve it, but I believe none of it will matter in the end because we are going to change the world. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Charles, pay attention to me. Quality sermon. I mean, the comments to me, the comments are really the gold under this thread. So I'll leave you to it to go and find this on Twitter for yourselves and enjoy. It's definitely it's good reading for today. Good wholesome reading. So there was a poll that took place by Voucher Codes in UK. They polled a bunch of folks. They had an expert named Dr. Garrick Heilman provide some information, and they were able to get some information as to the people who use cryptocurrency or are interested in cryptocurrency. And I thought it was useful. According to Dr. Garrick Heilman, for years now, many have declared cryptocurrencies to be the future of payments. The inception of crypto began with Bitcoin's launch in 2009. However, Dr. Garrick said it was not until 2013 when it first began to catch the attention of the general public. In November of that year, Richard Branson made global headlines. He was like the old Elon Musk when he announced that Virgin Galactic would accept Bitcoin as payment for space travel in a CNBC interview. Around this time, hundreds of small businesses and other leading companies such as Microsoft jumped on the bandwagon and announced Bitcoin acceptance. Yeah, even Steam was accepting Bitcoin, if you remember that, the gaming platform. These announcements helped fuel a jaw-dropping 50x increase in Bitcoin's price in 2013 as it crossed the $1,000 US dollar threshold for the first time. But as the data, or rather lack thereof, trickled in around how little Bitcoin was used for everyday retail payments, doubts grew over whether cryptocurrency would achieve its promise as a mainstream medium of exchange. The subsequent 2014-2015 Bitcoin price crash, which saw the price spike then drop an eye-watering 85%, highlighted a key issue that was negatively affecting the use of crypto for payments: exchange rate volatility. As we approach the 14th anniversary of Bitcoin's launch, there are legitimate reasons to be skeptical about the future of crypto payments. However, recent developments are combining to make the broader use of cryptocurrency in everyday payments in the UK and elsewhere a more compelling reality. So we have, for example, in this poll, this figure right here, which shows common misconceptions of cryptocurrency among UK consumers. And I can't believe this is still true, but 22% of those polled consumers said cryptocurrency is just another name for Bitcoin. They didn't realize that there was anything other than Bitcoin just yet. I would say this is really good for Bitcoin's brand. That's been one of the things the maxis really, really love. I was talking about Bitcoin as a brand, and it seems that it still has the strongest brand in cryptocurrency with at least 22% people. 15% thought cryptocurrency means my own personal wallet, but in the computer cloud, and 11% believe that cryptocurrency is like the money I have in my bank account. So, I guess like digital money that you have in your bank account and not real. So of those polled, the highest holding is Bitcoin. 20% are holding Bitcoin. So it seems to be the most popular cryptocurrency right now in the UK, followed by Ethereum, then Dogecoin, then Litecoin, and I guess the fifth could have been a surprise, but so could have Dogecoin, I suppose. It's Chainlink, the fifth one right down here. So some of the most affluent areas in the UK are those that are most invested in cryptocurrency. So you would expect London to be at the top, and that's exactly where it is. They talk about what people will be buying with their crypto purchases. Most look like they want to buy clothing or a holiday, some sort of vacation. 11% said a house. The rest said a gym membership and a watch. I mean, if you need cryptos to get a gym membership, I don't know. Maybe it's like a UK thing. I'm not sure. It seems like an interesting choice there. But anyway, the reasons that people are being put off by investing in crypto, 40% still don't understand it. And it is difficult to understand. So to me, that makes a lot of sense. And their education is really lacking in crypto. Although I'm hearing that like the computer sciences class at MIT has been surpassed by students enrolled by the blockchain class. I just read that this weekend. I haven't validated or verified that, but that is super interesting to me if true. 37% of UK customers say it's not regulated. So I guess who's calling for this regulation really, except for like competitors? It's not regulated. I guess they might think it's a scam or something like that. 32% said they need to do thorough research, but who has the time? Anyway, this is of note. I thought the difference between women was pretty huge. So the average man is willing to spend $910 on a crypto investment, while with women, they're more frugal with it at only $323 on average. Younger generations are willing to invest sizably more than older generations. 462% more if you're in the group of 18 to 24 than people over the age of 55. So people in the age range of 18 to 24 are on average willing to invest about 1,200 pounds, whereas people 55 and plus are willing to only invest $213. So as you get to the older groups, they just, for some reason, probably haven't taken the time to understand it, or they're feeling like they're better off with the long-standing traditional financial system. And that's what I find for the most part, is that the system that has worked for you for a long time, earned you some sort of assets, it's working just fine. Why disrupt something that's working just fine for you? But for the younger generations who have less, it appears, to look forward to, you can see why there would be greater adoption of cryptocurrencies. And I think that's a trend that's likely to continue as well. So there's a lot more here in the poll. I encourage you to check it out for yourself. This is by Voucher Codes again. So you can find it at vouchercodes.co.uk. Dr. Heilman goes into talking about stable coins and why he's very excited about those. And he talks about people needing to earn more money and income in crypto, something that I've been advocating for since I started this show. Until more people earn their income directly in crypto, there will continue to be a need for strong incentives to drive crypto payments growth. Price discounts, rewards, DeFi opportunities, better user experiences, for example, payment speeds, and other benefits can help with notoriously difficult to shift financial and payment habits. I would say this Garrett guy does seem to really understand crypto. I'll say he calls himself an expert here. Why not? He seems like he knows what he's talking about. So in summary, while there appears to be a clear division amongst customers in terms of openness to using crypto, it's clear that the majority have already or could be swayed into investing in the digital currency space. With a sizable chunk of the nation already owning a form of crypto, data suggests so apparently 1/3 of UK folks are holding crypto, which is pretty huge in the digital currency. With a sizable chunk of the nation already owning a form of crypto, data suggests we may see an upward trend in people investing. However, for crypto usage to flourish in the retail environment, more education is needed to give customers the knowledge and the necessary tools to make calculated decisions on how they invest their money. While some news reports suggest that crypto is dead, you know that one, demand still appears to be high, indicating that the public is not quite finished experimenting with the payment method. As the list of retailers accepting crypto as a form of payment continues to grow, this may provide further motivation for those to invest in the virtual currency space, especially since they can use stable coins and their lack of volatility for payments. And you'd still see a growing adoption across the sector as they're given more functional ways to spend their digital coins. From a market's perspective, it's clear several key measures need to be put in place to make it a safer and more stable environment for consumers to operate in. Latest advancements in the industry show that things appear to be moving in this direction. Nice job, Jamie Cuthbert. So this was a hack that did take place. It looks like almost $1 million was just stolen. That was linked to these vanity addresses, specifically this profanity vanity address. So hackers took 732 ETH off of these this was linked to Profanity's vanity address generator. It says here that these addresses are more vulnerable to brute force attacks because they're human generated instead of being a random string of letters and numbers created by a machine. These funds were sent to Tornado Cash. So Tornado Cash, you can still access it again. You can access the smart contracts on the blockchain, even if you can't go to the UI and try to start some sort of transaction because of the sanctions that we've seen. Hackers can still use it. So it's just to me an example of how little these sanctions can really stop things, right? I guess the main problem with some sort of hacker, but I guess something that these hackers considered, is that there are probably more investigative agencies following these transactions more closely now that are linked to Tornado Cash, and that could be a problem for you. But if you really feel like your OPSEC is that good, you can still use it, like you can see that they did right here. Sent to the Tornado Cash router, you can see there. Tech Shield Alert was the one who had noticed this. They said seems like $950,000 worth of crypto has been stolen by 0x9731F from Ethereum vanity address generated with a tool called Profanity, and that the exploiter again had transferred 732 ETH into that mixer. So what is a vanity address? If you don't know, a vanity address is an address which part of it is chosen by yourself, making it look less random. So kind of like picking your own license plate when you go to the DMV, except you don't pick the second 3 letters or whatever. You only pick the first 3 letters. So for example, take a look at this one right here and notice how the first segment of it after 0x looks like it says coffee. So these appear to be more and more like risks and problems, especially when they're generated in your browser, like with many of these websites. Like this one, Vanity ETH, is an open source tool using your web browser to generate Ethereum vanity addresses. You should be very careful when generating any sort of address when it's generated in a hot fashion connected to the internet and not in a cold fashion. So I would advise caution right now, as it looks like this wasn't the first hack. And the recent one that took place, what was the name of it? I didn't get a chance to cover it here on the show. It happened just last week. There was another hack that was possibly related to these vanity addresses. I can't remember the name right now, but I'm urging caution right now just in case if that's what you're going to try to get into. So as we wrap up the news, it's just a weird world out there like this. I was reading yesterday, U.S. will take catastrophic action if Vladimir Putin uses nuclear weapons. Apparently, he says he'll do anything to defend Russia, and that could maybe even not deter them from using nuclear weapons, maybe small-scale arms and munitions. But I just went down this entire thread. Like, if you use even the smallest tactical nuke, it's just the game theory has shown time and time again that it will eventually result in the biggest nukes being used and many nukes being used. And it does ultimately result in Armageddon. And so I hope it never comes to that, but it does feel like we're in some sort of weird Cold War. Of course, this could be the propaganda ministry feeding me news and everything else. I'm very well aware of that. But at the same time, anything is possible in life. So at the end of the day, it's good to sometimes remember that it's not always about the value of our portfolio. We're here for the friendship and the good times instead. And of course, to stay aware of what's going on in the world, to see how that could impact our investments. But investments aren't everything. So I thank you guys so much for joining me here. And I encourage you to instead just fill yourselves with some love and peace, right? Every now and then. If you read too much into this news, it can definitely fill you with the opposite, which is fear. So I'll leave you with this quote of the day by Jimi Hendrix, and hope that it fills you with peace. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Jimi Hendrix. Well said, Jimmy, and I thank you all again for joining me. Thanks for participating so much in the chat. Amiris, Validator for joining me, Curb Shifter, and everyone else I didn't get an opportunity to thank as well, or who watches this afterwards. Take care, much love, everyone, and stay cryptic. Peace.